Brown, United Texas town. About to shack outside the game. You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you're gonna go to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls. I'm racing.
Hey everybody, Logan Hall back with another pan stream. We're not doing a grill stream today, we're doing a pan stream. I actually thought about doing a actual sort of grill stream, but um, again, again, feel like the weather is a little bit iffy right now. It's kind of been raining sort of off and on. We had a lot of weather uh, yesterday actually, and so and I felt like this dish really deserves to be more in the pan versus the sort of like the grill. It's sort of a more sort of elegant meal, I guess. But anyway, we are making steak frites today with some homemade uh, fries as well as a homemade. Um, again, it's like the sauce is basically just like a French sort of pepper sauce. I can't quite say it, but anyway, what I want to do now is I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can change the camera real quick. That takes me out. Settings. And they really make it tough to do um, all these sort of adjustments. But anyway, so let me show you what we have going on today. So these are the homemade fries that we'll be making here. So just to sort of talk through the process, so far, these actually were actually kind of parboiled yesterday in some boiling water. I also had some baking soda as well as some white distilled vinegar in there. And what I've done now is I've kind of frozen them overnight, and they're also coated in potato starch as well. So I think that's going to result in some pretty good fries here. Um, so later on, for like the pepper sauce, we will be using the pestle and mortar to actually, grind up the peppers. Again, we don't necessarily want a fine. Again, we don't necessarily want like a finely ground pepper, but we do want, sort of like roughly chopped peppers here. So you can either do that like by like using like an actual pan, or you could just grind it up here like so. And then there's also going to be some beef broth involved. There's also I've also got some rosemary, and thyme there for the actual searing so far. This is what we'll be using to actually do all the frying in. Again, this is just like a carbon steel pan from Made In. Sort of all my cookware is from Made In. I think it's a really good solid brand. Your other option is sort of like All Clad. And All Clad is excellent too. But again, I don't think you can go wrong with either brand. But that brings us to the steak itself. So we are doing a sous vide here. Um, so if anyone doesn't like that, they can go ahead and leave now. They can go and cry about it. But no, but again, I really like sous vide. I think it's a great option. Especially like for larger steaks. So this steak isn't necessarily large. It's about like an inch and a half thick or so. Um, but again, just for more sort of elegant meals, I like to do a sort of like a no fuss, you know, sort of a sous vide version of the steak. I'm also having a bit of white wine this evening, so cheers. Now, I think what we want to do first here, and I'm going to flip this back around here. I think what we want to do first, and I'm going to let me do something real quick. Hold on, guys. So I just got a new gimbal, and it doesn't always want to go quite where I want it to go. What I might do is I might actually have to go back let's do front camera. All right, and then what I'll do is let's kind of point this downward, and let's see if that goes down any further. Yeah, that's better. That's what we want. So anyway, let's see if we have anybody in the chat first before we really get going here. Let's see. Okay, it won't let me go to the chat. Okay, that's fine. But again, for those of you that are watching here, we're making steak frites. And the first thing I want to do is I actually want to chop up a bit of garlic. And again, you're really supposed to be using shallots here. The grocery, again, you can sort of. I was out today. Just a little sort of side story. I actually went to like the SEC men's basketball championship here in Nashville, and that was a lot of fun. Even though the Vols lost, unfortunately. But again, sort of on my way home, I decided to go to like a grocery store that I haven't been to before, just because it was a bit more convenient. But they were out of a lot of produce, unfortunately, and I could not find any shallots. So if you're ever in need of shallots and you don't have them, just a small sort of red onion will work just fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rough chop these, close the garlic, and then we're going to kind of just start to mince them a little bit. Get them into smaller pieces. And we're looking for just like a finely minced sort of pair of garlic here. So for anybody watching, how was your Sunday? Hope you enjoyed the weekend. There's still a little bit of weekend left, but not much. So I figured I would grace your evenings with my dinner. Yeah, the sauce. The sauce is actually called. I believe it's called au poivre. So it's basically just French for steak sauce with pepper. So we'll be using a little bit of heavy cream, a little bit of beef broth. This again, you can select the shallot slash red onion will actually play a part in it too. But anyway, we are just about there with the garlic. I did spare you guys this time. So there is actually some parsley involved. But again, I didn't want to keep you guys here for 3 hours, so I decided just to buy the pre-minced stuff, which is usually not like me. Usually I like to just kind of do everything by scratch. But the reason I went with the pre-chopped stuff this time, it actually looks like this. So the reason why I went that route this time is because I really don't need a lot of parsley. It's really just going to be more for garnish. And usually if the parsley is actually part of the dish, then I will buy fresh, and like I will go sort of all out and chop it for 45 minutes. But again, parsley is really just going to be more for garnish. And I think that is our garlic for now. So let's work on the red onion slash shallot. Again, if you have shallot, then use shallot. But if you don't have shallot, then just a simple red onion will also work just fine. And this actually sort of looks like a shallot anyway. So I think this will actually work out just fine. We're going to move that other half over here. We don't need that. And we've already peeled off the first layer, but sometimes there's a little sort of membrane on there, and you don't necessarily need that. And we may not even need sort of all of this either. But let's just go ahead and wash this off. So the way I like to do this is I kind of like to treat it like an onion. I mean, this is technically a red onion, but but again, so let's just pretend it's a shallot. But I like to essentially do what I do with an onion. I make very thin cuts, and I'll kind of make sort of small incisions into it, like we've already done the top part, but we'll kind of work our way up. And then I'll kind of do this so that it's actually facing you guys. But again, I'm just going to very, very finely mince this red onion slash shallot. Just give that one more rough chop just to get any of the bigger chunks. All right. So again, so that's about the consistency that you want there. Just really, really finely minced. So both of these things are going to actually be used for the sauce, and we'll do the sauce later. But what I want to do now is actually move you guys. I will move you over. Let me see here. Let me do, or if I can put you right there. And then let's point down. And then I'll move you guys right about, whoop. Yeah. So we're actually going to do the fries next. And what we want the temperature to be 315. So you guys can't see this right now, but it's about 260. Climbing to 270. Yeah, about 275 right now. So it's still got just a little time to go. I'm going to bump up the heat just a little bit here. And we're actually going to be frying this in 2 batches. So it's technically 3 times that you're frying slash boiling it. Again, so like the first time, it was actually just in water. It was a combination of salt, of course, distilled white vinegar, and baking soda. So what all that does, again, I'm not like a super sort of sciencey type of guy, but I know that it basically contributes to the overall like structure of the potato, and it makes it eventually more crispy as your end product. So anyway, so we're gonna watch the temperature in this, and we're gonna wait until it hits about 315. So let's check one more time. I just bumped up the temperature just a little bit, and we're already starting to see that move up. So right now we're at about 290. Yeah, 290. And we'll give that just a moment here to get up to about 315. Once I do actually put these in, the temperature is going to drop in the pan sort of overall. But again, that's perfectly fine. I think again, the key to sort of frying is not to overcrowd the pan. You don't want to add in so much that it really drops the temperature down to where it's like 50 degrees below what you wanted, right? But anyway, yeah. So again, so I boiled those first yesterday, and then I froze them. I tossed them in a bit of a potato starch too, but I froze them in my freezer. And again, I'm essentially we'll be doing 2 fries today. We'll be doing like a lower temperature one at 315 Fahrenheit, and then we'll actually put those on a wire rack. I I actually didn't put one of those out, but I'll grab that now. This is a wire rack, but it's too small. So this is more sort of what we're looking for, right? So we're going to have quite a bit of fries here. So, and again, the reason why we put this on an actual wire rack is to allow the air to circulate sort of underneath them as well. If I were just to put this on a bunch of paper towels, they're going to get soggy, and you want to keep that sort of crispiness, right? So that's why we use a actual wire rack versus just paper towels. So let's check our temperature again. $300, 309, 310. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bump the temperature up just a hair more. And basically that will get us to 315 easy, but it's also going to kind of give us a little bit extra. It's probably going to go closer up to 320 or even 330. But that's fine though, because again, when we add, oil to the pan, sorry, when we add the fries to the pan, it, like the temperature will drop down a little bit. But again, if we sort of slightly sort of overshoot it, then we should be back at sort of 315 by the time that the fries are in. So that is probably 315 now. Let's just do one final check. $315. And we're still climbing a little bit, which is okay, but so what I'll do, I will have this sort of ready to, let me do this. I'm going to scoot the sous vide over because we don't quite need it just yet. And I'm going to use tray here so we can easily transfer. But what I'll do now, let's use some tongs. And let's start dropping these guys in. Okay, so all the bubbles, so that's basically just like a starch. There might be too much bubbles, actually. Let me slowly move this off the pan real quick, or off the eye, I should say. So let's let that calm down just for a moment, because we don't necessarily want all that. And what I might do is I might just kind of ladle some of this out. Let me do that. I'm going to grab let's just grab a bowl. I mean, I probably should have taken off the actual sort of starch. I could really sort of shaking that dry before I put them in, but again, that's okay. And that's why you really don't sort of overcrowd the pan. You could have something like this happen too. So we're basically going to do this until the fries have some structure to them. But they won't have the final color that we're looking for, but we're basically just going to do this until they have the structure. They can sort of hold up on their own, And then after that, we're gonna basically get the temperature up to about 350. And then we'll do the final boil so that we actually get the color that we want. But again, this is really more just to cook the overall of internals. So this is what we have right now. So there's still just a little bit of floppy. You could even say they're flaccid. So we don't necessarily want fries that are erect, but we do want them to have some structure to it. So we'll give that just maybe another 30 seconds, and then we will, slowly transfer them to this baking sheet here. And then they will just kind of dry out for a minute, but then we're going to up the temperature to 350 and do the final actual boil there. So let's see if I can fish any of these out. Yeah, that's definitely getting closer. Again, these are fairly pale, and that's okay. Again, some like this again, some like this isn't necessarily for the color right now. We're really just getting all the sort of fluffy internals cooked. I might actually switch to sort of a skimmer thing right here. Yeah, oh, that's way easier. Yeah, and so now that we're taking more and more of these out, sort of like the foam is starting to dissipate, which is good, because that means that we can put this back on the eye. I think that's pretty much all of them. There's one more. So let's turn the eye back on, but I want to see where we left off in terms of temperature. To 20, to 30. Yeah. Yes. I mean, definitely dropped a little bit. So we'll give that just a moment to get back up the temperature here. And I would say we probably have about 2 to 3 more batches of this. Now, something that you sort of always hear when you're frying is sort of after you're done frying, like you basically want to immediately salt it, sort of straight after coming out of the oil. Now that's true, again, but if you're doing more than one, boil here, if you're doing a low boil and then a high boil, you want to salt at the very end, right? So the fries are actually going to get some of that parsley too that I was talking about earlier. But something else I'm going to do just to add, just a little bit more flair to it, is add a little bit of a truffle oil at the end. So we'll toss all these, probably in the same bowl that they came in. But I'll just kind of rinse it out real quick. And then we'll toss it in a little bit of truffle oil. We could even do, we could even do a little bit of Parmesan too. So this is some nice Parmigiano Reggiano. So I'm going to open up that real quick. We can grate some of that in as we're tossing the fries around. Now, if you don't have one of these, a microplane zester, you need to get on Amazon right now and buy one, because I use this for several different things. This is, obviously great for grating cheese, but this is also good for like grating nutmeg into say like a hot chocolate, or or even sort of chocolate. And this is great for that too. You can also use it to like to zest lemons, limes, oranges. Again, so there's a lot of uses for this. But again, this is a microplane zester. They do also have sort of a wider one as well. But I actually think that that one is in the dishwasher right now. But I have two of them. Just because I use them so much, I decided to buy them or buy two of them basically. So let's check the temperature back here and see where we are. 250, 260. And my steak is just about ready here too. So the good thing about sort of going through a sous vide here is, once you sort of hit the temperature, you can let it sit in there forever. Well, I mean, you can sort of not you can sort of not not truly forever, but again, so you can let it sit in there for several hours, and it's still going to maintain uh, the internal temperature that you set it to. So that's a really another sort of really nice feature that I like about a sous vide is, um, I mean, it's very easy to use. It gives you very consistent results, and you really don't have to worry about overcooking it. So there's that. Oops. So I have that now just sort of toasting. $270. So let's bump this up a little bit more. And again, man, I'm not going to do this sort of every time. I just want to make sure that we're roughly staying in the ballpark, of this, and again, this won't be like an every single time because otherwise we're going to be here for a while, right? But if it's in the ballpark of 315, then that's fine with me. 280, 285. So let's give that 30 more seconds, and then I'll probably dump in the second batch. So I did see a few people pop in there just for a little bit. Again, I know that, like, I didn't give you guys a lot of notice on this one. I was out pretty much the whole day, and I wasn't quite sure when I was going to get back home. So I didn't want to like set a time, and then like the time comes and I'm still on the road or something, right? Um, but anyway, let's do one final check. It's basically going up, sort of 1 degree per second, roughly. So we're just about 300 here. Now, normally, sort of at this point in the stream. Oh, look, we got two people. Hey, thank you for you guys showing your support and joining the stream. So normally at this point of the stream, sort of I would share like the history of sort of steak frites and sort of how it became to be or whatever. But I actually don't know. I didn't do my research prior to this uh, stream here. So again, so if you guys know, feel free to drop that in the comments, and then you can actually educate me. Let's go ahead and start dropping in a bit more of our fries here. You should always lay things away from you when you're frying because you don't want the possibility of the oil splashing on you. So I'm going to pause there just to make sure that we don't get too much of the foam. and probably what I'll do is I'll probably just do sort of a rolling sort of boil here, and just kind of, as they start to look good, I will take them out and then start to add a few more in, rather than like stopping, starting, sort of what I did with like the first one there. Um, so I'm going to move this off the eye just for a moment because, again, I don't want it to necessarily start to overflow. And I think 3 minutes is generally a good amount of time per these batches. So we're going to target for about 3 minutes. I wish I could actually go to the comments here. So this time, guys, I'm actually doing something a little bit different from what I normally do. Just in terms of, so normally I would actually be, starting the stream from like my desktop upstairs, but I found out a way to start it from my phone. So that sort of that way, like I'm not having like to rush downstairs, or like I'm having like to go upstairs to go add someone to the stage or whatever. Um, but the problem is, um, normally I can go and slide and see the comments here, but hold on, here we go. Hey, there we go. Now I've got the comments here. It was just really hard to click on. It was like really tight. We have George in the chat. George, I don't know if you're still here, man, but if you are, hey, thank you so much for being here. Um, really appreciate your support. And we also have Dear Artifact. Dear Artifact says, I don't know anything about the history either, Logan, but I just looked it up, or looked it up, and it says that steak frites originated in either Belgium or France. Many Belgians consider it to be the national dish. Hey, thank you so much for doing, I guess, your uh, part there, Dear Artifact, man. Thank you. Like, so now you're actually doing like the educating here, and that's always great here. So these have been in for probably about 3 minutes now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to gradually take these out. And sort of as these are taken out, this sort of foam will go down. Again, in case you miss it, the foam is most likely due to the starch that I put on these. And as the starch kind of flares up again, that'll have sort of like a chemical reaction with the oil. So that's why it does that. But it's kind of a sign that I put maybe too much starch on there. So I probably won't do that going forward. Let's go ahead and just add more in here. Again, the temperature is going to be below that 350 threshold right now, but that's fine. Again, I don't want to keep you guys here sort of all day. So I'm going to do one more batch here, and then we'll probably move on to the actual sort of steak part here. Actually, while this is frying here, I can actually take this out. Yeah, let's do that here. Let me kind of move you guys around real quick. So that was the look at the fries, just real briefly there. And then what I'll do now, I have, oh yeah, pair of tongs. So I'm also using something called a chef's press to actually weigh the steak down as it's cooking. These things are really great for when you want to apply any kind of pressure to something that you're cooking. So, for example, if you are doing like a grilled cheese or something, and you want to make sure that that it actually has sort of good sort of contact with a pan, then you want to use something like a chef's press to actually like make sure that there's sort of even coverage. Now it's also useful for sous vide because naturally things like the float in water, but you want the thing that you're cooking to actually kind of be submerged a little bit. So, again, so that's another really good use for them. Um, and what I'll do now, I'll bring you guys over here and we can kind of deconstruct this a little bit together. So let me scoot this around. There we go. So we have the cheese for later. Move that over there. We have our, faux shallot. Um, it's like it's really just like a red onion. In case you missed that part earlier. Um, but what I'll do now, I'm going to drain off sort of like the excess liquid here, and I'm also going to pat this really dry, because ultimately, when you are doing a sear, water or sort of any kind of moisture is going to be the enemy. You don't want any of that, especially when you're interacting with oil too, because water and oil are not the best of friends, as you probably know. Um, but what I'll do now, I'm going to pat these dry, or this dry, I should say, and I'll probably do a couple rounds of paper towels here. Got one more piece there. So I cooked this to 136 internal. Um, Medium rare starts at 135, but I often like to do sort of, maybe just a little bit higher than that, sort of like a medium rare plus. I'm basically going for a nice rosy pink interior. Um, so that's, again, sure, that's how I like my steak. But of course, everybody else is going to be different. Now, this was already seasoned with salt. I did a dry brine in my fridge, um, and it was already pretty sure literally coated with salt. Um, Now let's go ahead and take these fries off here too. Um, and I'll just do that sort of real quick off camera so that I'm not having to constantly move things around too much. Actually, these fries could actually go just a little bit longer, I think, um, which is fine because we now just need to apply some pepper here. And also, what I'll do, I'm going to let's actually cut the heat real quick. So I'm going to add a little bit of grapeseed oil to the pan here. And I'm actually going to take that off here. Something that I really probably should do each time is you should really sort of add the oil first, because basically when the oil starts to smoke like this, then you know that it's ready for searing. But again, by me adding this later, after the pan is already hot, then I've basically sort of overshot it, right? So I'm just going to let this kind of chill out as is for a moment. We're going to move the fries back just a little bit more because I did see that start to flare up a little bit. But I'm going to put this pan back here, and I'm going to put the fan on. So it might be a little bit tougher for you guys to hear me for a moment. So sorry about that. And I will cut the heat for a moment here. So I'm going to go ahead and take these fries out. I think they've had, a decent amount of time here. I'm going to use that skimmer that I had just a moment ago, because I found that to be more effective. So after all these fries are out, I'm going to bump the temperature up to 350, and that's going to be the finishing. the finishing sort of boil here that will give it its final color and also sort of crisp it up a little bit. I think I got most of them out. All right. So that's pretty much all the fries are done with their second batch. I'm going to move this back over to the heat. And I'm going to crank up the temperature because, again, we're going to target 350. So hopefully that doesn't actually boil over here, but let me do this now. I'm going to apply some, actually, let me back that up a little bit. We'll now do a little bit of pepper. Yeah, that still wants to boil up. So I'm going to take that off the heat. And I think I should kill the heat for a moment. I want sort of all those bubbles to basically stop, and I don't want that to spill over because that's going to be very messy. But I did put the actual sort of steak searing pan back on the heat. Now that the actual now that the smoke is gone. Again, I mean, I have made the I have made the mistake before of basically it being too hot, and actually catch the pan on fire, which I don't want to do. Now there is actually let me grab it. Oh, I think my cognac is over here. So when you're making like a French sauce, oftentimes what you might want to do is actually add a bit of cognac and or brandy. And then you will do what's called a flambe, and that will kind of burn off all the alcohol. So I'm going to crank this back up, and as soon as this starts to smoke again, I'm going to put the steak in, and we're going to give it like a nice sear. It doesn't look all that great right now. But again, that's just because only the internals are done and not the actual sort of crust is done just yet. So I'm going to move our oil back on over here, and we'll see if I can get it up to 350 without it really sort of bubbling over. Again, you can sort of, if it does actually start to bubble over, then my sort of like plan B is actually just to throw them in the air fryer. So, again, you can sort of not the most sort of elegant thing to do, but again, we don't want to cause some huge spill here or anything like that. And that's kind of what it's looking like right now. We still have quite a bit of bubbles here. Again, so just to show a shot of that real quick. I think what I'll do is I'm going to start the air fryer. Let's actually kill the heat over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically set the temperature of the air fryer to the final temperature that I was going to fry in anyway. Um, so I think that's so that's going to give us like the safest results. And again, and I don't want to have a bunch of hot oil spilling out here. Um, so what I'll do, I'm going to set this, and that's going to be preheating here. This pan is actually starting to smoke now. So what I'll do, I'm going to go ahead and, actually, sorry. But before we do that, let's get a bit of butter out. Because, and we'll get a spoon here because we want to use that as we base, right? So what I like to do, I like to put about 2 or 3 pats of butter or 2 or 3 sort of tablespoons of butter in sort of after I've gotten a sort of an initial crust on sort of either side. If this is starting to smoke up here, and again, I mean, I don't want it to sort of go sort of overboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut up a little bit of butter here. And also what I'll do, I'm going to grab a few cloves of garlic. Chop some butter now. Our butter is ready, and then I'm going to put this back on real quick. Typically, when you also want to base and you want to use garlic, you kind of want to you know, sort of press down on the garlic first so that it kind of opens it up. I see very often people will just throw in the garlic sort of raw like this, and that's okay, but you're not getting the full potential of the garlic. Like so, what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to crush these up a little bit, and then we'll actually use that for the base. So I just using 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 actually the blade of my knife. But I just to just press down on it. And that's going to release a little bit more garlic flavor than just throwing them in raw, basically. So the oil is ready. I do see it starting to wisp up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and lay this away from us. And I will use the chef's press there, so that we have sort of even surface pressure. And something else that you see people do often, but again, there's sort of the two different sort of schools of thought here. They're sort of flipping often, and then there's only flipping once. Sort of both of them are actually fine, but it's just you'll get sort of knowing sort of when to do each. Is basically the part that's important. So I will actually be flipping often here. So we'll give that about 30 more seconds, and then what I'll do, I will add in the butter. You know what? I mean, I will also there's go ahead, I can kill the heat too, but we don't want to burn the butter, right? So we also have we also have OC and we also have our friend from Tokyo, Japan, Marcelo Time. So again, like it's also important like to get the sides here too, but you also want to cook some of this fat too. So don't forget about the fat. Sort of, otherwise it's just going to be like really chewy and it's not going to be all that flavorful. So make sure that you get the fat there too. So what I'll do now, I'm going to add in the butter. We'll do garlic, bit of thyme and rosemary. So what I'll do, I'm going to tilt this, up here, and then we're going to base that up here. Again, it's fine to go ahead like and put the herbs on top too. So I'll go ahead and flip this over too. Same thing. I think that's been thoroughly basted. And what we'll do now, I will take this guy and just sort of we'll put him here for now. And then what I'll actually do is I'm going to pour everything on top of this, like so. And then this is just going to sit out for maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so. But again, sort of what we can do now is we can go ahead and start to cook the French sort of pepper sauce. Although, so one thing I forgot to do actually, and I'll kind of scoot this over here real quick. We need to crush some of this black peppercorn. So again, so these are lightly crushed. Like you do want big chunks when you're doing this. So we also have Eddie Mao. Hey man, welcome. Marcelo says yesterday I have a group of 10 people. I served them 2 pound each of New York rib fillet. Hey, nice, man. Hey, Jogan, sort of. If I ever make my way out there to Tokyo, man, I'm definitely gonna visit you for sure. So I'm gonna keep the pan sort of temperature low, because again, sort of when you're doing a sauce, like you don't necessarily want it to be ripping hot. Like you just basically want the heat to sort of be enough so that you actually sweat the onion, or you sweat the shallot. Now also the air fryer is good to go here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add just a little bit of duck fat. And I'm basically going to pour all these in. So that will be our fries. All right, so the air fryer is fairly full. So I'm going to change the time on that to maybe about 12 minutes or so. All right, so now what we can do, so again, this is kind of what you want in terms of the pepper here. Marcelo says, hey man, you're more than welcome, my friend, and we can share some tips. Yeah, exactly, man. We need to share all the cooking tips together. But anyway, I'm going to switch you guys back around here to the pan, and let me point you down just a little bit more. Let's see. Dear Artifact, great watch choice for the steak frites. Yeah, exactly. Date just. So that's what I have on today, guys. I have the date just. This has been my longest sort of running watch in terms of sort of how long I've had it in the collection. Um, let's see. Let me actually bring that up real quick. Yeah. So this is the piece that I've had for the longest. I've had this for about 9 years now. I picked this up in 2016. And again, sort of this is going to be one of those pieces that I keep in my collection forever. Um, but if I have the opportunity to buy like a day, then I might actually, sell this, and actually, actually just sort of get that instead. But anyway, so we have a little bit of leftover melted butter here. I'm going to add just a little bit more of that grapeseed oil here. And so what we'll want to do is we will basically want to go ahead and add the garlic and shallot. And then also here, I mean, just a moment, we will actually add in the actual peppercorns as well. All right. All right. So sort of after 30 seconds, so the garlic is starting to become fragrant. The shallot is also starting to become fragrant. So what I'll do now, I'm going to add in our pepper here. So let's add in a bit of the beef broth. And we're going to let that basically sort of sit there on a slightly higher temperature and let that sort of reduce. So that's a medium heat right now. Let's see. Do we have anybody else in this? Eddie Mao, Marcelo, original. Okay, so OC says getting in the mood with steak with Logan. Exactly, man. I'm going to shake these fries around a little bit. So this still have a little bit to go. So I'm going to crank the heat up to just a little bit over medium. So once this is at a simmer here, I'm actually going to add in a bit of cognac here, and we'll do a fun sort of flambe. Now again, like it's fun. And it's fun when you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, then you could catch a lot of shit on fire. So just make sure that you know what you're doing when you're doing it. Uh, and also don't tell my HOA that I'm doing some sort of fire action. Okay. Let's see. Uh, hey, Happy Meal. Hey, chat. Hello. I've uploaded and I'm hungry. Hey, man, you joined us just in time to do this like the French sort of pepper sauce. It's basically called again. Which was sometimes I can't quite say because of my stutter, but again, it's basically just like the French French pepper sauce that it will typically go with steak. So this is starting to sort of reduce a little bit more. It's starting to emulsify. So we'll give that just another second here, and then I'm going to add some cognac, and we'll give curly just like a little bit of a fire show. So that's the kitchen torch. So let's do the fun part. All right, everybody, hold on to your britches. So there's some flambe action for you guys. It wasn't quite as big as I thought it was going to be. I guess I didn't use sort of enough sort of cognac, but that's all right. So I'm going to let that continue to basically reduce for maybe another 30 seconds to roughly a minute. And then we will add in a bit of heavy whipping cream here. So let's see who else we have. Fire. Yeah, exactly, man. We also have Ryan Singer here, brother. Thank you for your support as always. So in case you missed it, so we do have also some homemade fries. The problem was I think I put a little bit too much starch on them, and it was causing the oil to really sort of boil up. Sorry, it was causing the starch to sort of react with the oil, and it was getting a really big sort of poofy foam on top. So instead of doing the final fry in the carbon steel pan, we're basically just going to finish it off in the air fryer. Boston Collector is first, everybody. Only sort of 1 hour and 3 minutes in, but we finally have our first chat, guys. Thank you so much, Boston. Appreciate it, man. Let's see. Dear Artifact says the Flames confirmed that this is too advanced for me to try. No worries, man. No worries. No worries at all. So okay, so this is starting to become a nice sort of thick sauce. We're going to finish this off with a bit of heavy cream. They really put these fuckers on hard, don't they? All right, so we're going to let this sit a minute. We're going to let it sort of, add some color to it. And it really needs to be sort of like a Dijon mustard, brown almost, sort of like a yellowish brown. So let's see who else we have. We have Boston. Is that a reduced fat soy grass fed heavy whipping cream alternative? No, man. It's basically the finest for the heavy whipping cream that you can buy from Kroger. I'm going to add in just a little bit more of like the beef broth, sort of beef stock. And we're going to let that further, further sort of reduce a little bit more. One thing we haven't done is we haven't added any kind of salt there, so I'm going to add a little bit more salt. All right, so we're going to let that kind of sit and get more and more color. Why did I have a chicken dinner for dinner, Logan? Well, man, you really should have had a steak. Steak is going to be a lot better, man. So it's starting to turn a little bit of a darker color. So the fries may not be sort of as crispy as I was hoping. So what I really should have done is I probably should have just skipped on the starch, and actually just went sort of straight up with the sort of baking soda, salt, and again the distilled white vinegar, and just sort of left it at that. I think when you add in the starch, it definitely makes it more sort of crispy. But you do sacrifice, sort of not having the ability to get to the temperature that you want without it starting to foam over. So that's the only sort of downside. But anyway, this sauce is just about ready. I do want it to be just a little bit darker. So we're going to let that darken up just a little bit more. I think what we can do now actually is I'm going to move you guys back over here, and let's put that over there. So we've had the steak sitting for a little bit now. And what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and slice into this and see how we did. Let's move all the stuff out of the way here. Let me wash this off real quick. So I'm not too happy about this, to be honest. I definitely let it sear for maybe just a little too long. And it's certainly not one of my better steaks. I probably should have just stuck with what I'm used to, right? Like I should have just gone with a grill, basically. But the sauce is looking good, though. So we're just about ready to plate up and kind of wrap things up here. What I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and plate the steak. So these are actually kitchen tweezers, in case you were wondering. So these are really good for like when you're like cooking bacon or or you're trying to plate something really really sort of delicate. Let's see. Did you get that all clad at the cookware edit? No, no, man. So these are actually called Made In. So Made In is sort of like the newer version of all clad. And I find them to be just as good, honestly. Um, you know, so here's the thing about sort of all clad. Their sort of handles are really angled up, fairly high. And you'll get it's like the angle of the handles are really at like a 45-degree angle. Um, Now that's great if you're working in a kitchen and you have pots and pans that are like really close together. But for someone who is just a home chef, you really don't need them to be that sort of steep. And most people, they're just home chefs. They prefer something that's closer to like a 25 or 30-degree angle. So that's why I ended up going with this. Well, let's go ahead and add that sauce on now. Let's try to cover up all my shame here. So let's dump these fries out. Again, these aren't sort of quite as sort of crispy as I wanted. Um, but again, sort of as you do this, like you kind of learn and whatnot. So let's finish this off with a bit of parsley. And a little bit of truffle oil. Oh, you know what we can do actually? Let's turn off the fan so that you guys can actually hear me again. Sorry about that. Um, let's add a little bit of pepper. Do a little bit of salt. Um, and oh yeah, let's get the marketplace zester. Add just a little bit of cheese. Where did that? Oh yeah, here it is. And just a touch of truffle oil. And that is my take on steak frites. Now again, I'm not like super happy with this. If I'm being honest here, the fries could have been better. The steak could have been better. But I mean, it's still pretty good. But anyway, this is the final product, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let's read the final comments here before we wrap up. Let's see here. Okay, Boston says, I thought I recognized the made in I got a set for Christmas, and yeah, they're awesome. Logan, my wife approves. Looks awesome. Hey, thank you, man. Logan, if I was your guest, I would be wondering, what are you gonna eat? Or, what are you gonna eat? Well, man, this is what I'm eating. Dear Artifact, looks great, Logan. I'm drooling. Hey, thank you, man. Again, like this still is going to taste good and everything, but I probably will do a second version of this stream eventually. I do actually want to do it on the grill. I think that's sort of like my bread and butter, right? And that's what I'm like very good at. I think, um, I think when I'm doing this in like a pan, I mean, it's not, again, it's the same sort of principles, it's the same idea, but I'm just much more used to doing it sort of on the grill versus in a pan. And again, the doneness didn't quite turn out how I wanted to, But the sauce is really good though. Let's taste it. Yeah, that's really flavorful. Really like deep and complex actually. Let's try it. The fry again. It's like it doesn't have like that like outer crispiness that I wanted to. But I think what I'll do to finish things off, let's try the steak. You know what? Really good actually. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought. Again, sort of, I mean, it's great to have looks. It's great to have like a really nice char or grill marks or whatever. But again, sort of at the end of the day, it's about the steak actually tasting good, the fries actually tasting good, and you enjoying the meal, right? So anyway, let's read um, some final comments here. You need a nice watercress salad with that and a light citrus vinaigrette. Yeah, that might not be bad. Actually, love the fries that aren't super crispy. Huh, a different perspective. And then we have Happy Meal. Logan cheers. Happy Sunday. Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. OC Lynn fries. What the fuck? I'm screenshotting that OC. Yeah, you better, man. But anyway, guys, thank you for sticking around for another good stream. I will actually do a second version of this one eventually. Um, Probably when it's like a bit warmer outside. When it's spring and sort of summer weather. Um, but again, this is a first sort of good try, but it's again sort of not up to my standard, I guess. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Cheers.